Good evening, everyone. Ooh, good evening, everyone. There we go. The Durham Public Schools Board of Education monthly meeting is now in session. At this time, we wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening, those who are in person, as well as those who are joining us virtually. The purpose of this meeting is to inform our parents, staff, and constituents about the work aligned with our mission to embrace, educate, and empower every student to innovate, to serve, and to lead. The interpreters for tonight are Martha Romo Iguiles and Marty Ramirez. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. The next item on our agenda is the moment of silence. It feels too often that we are having moments of silence and thinking about violence that's happening in our community, around our country, and around our world. But I hope that we can take this moment to hold the folks who are impacted, which is all of us, in this moment of silence. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our celebrations. We'll pass it over to Sheena Cooper.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Mabenga, DPS colleagues, and families. I am pleased to present our celebrations for this evening, highlighting the outstanding accomplishments of our DPS students and the inspiring work of our educators and staff. Tonight, we will acknowledge our October Student of the Month, followed by our Teacher and Employee of the Month. We will introduce DPS's new Principal of the Year and showcase a national recognition received by one of our extraordinary teachers. We will conclude our celebrations with the presentation of DPS Spark Pins tonight also. At this time, I'd like to welcome Principal Dan Guilford of Northern High School to introduce our October Student of the Month. Mr. Guilford.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Chair, members of the school board, Dr. Mabenga, members of our cabinet, and all of Durham Public Schools. It is an honor for me as principal of Northern High School to be before you this evening to recognize our student of the month, Stephen Justice Fisher, Jr. Justice is a one-of-a-kind leader. He treats individuals with respect and encourages them to achieve at their highest level. He is always seeking opportunities to help members of his team and community. He excels at helping others to achieve their fullest potential. He serves as a student advisor for Peer Group Connection, PGC. PGC allows Justice to connect with a group of underclassmen students to help provide them with strategies to have a successful school career. He is always encouraging others and remains humble when he achieves his own successes. He is currently a member of both the football and the track teams where he serves as captain. He has applied and been accepted into various colleges and universities. He has been offered a full scholarship for his academic and athletic abilities to Alabama A&M, but remains hopeful for an offer from UNC State or Liberty. When I spoke with various teacher leaders and staff about Justice as our representative before this board for this school year, everyone broke into a wide smile and enthusiastically endorsed his recommendation. He's a very dedicated captain of our football team. When asked about attending tonight, he was open to not coming and instead going to support JV tonight against Riverside, but his mom overruled that. Escorted tonight by his parents, Stephen and DeWanda Fisher, I present Stephen Justice Fisher, Jr. of Northern High School as Durham Public Schools Student of the Month for October 2023.
Congratulations, Stephen. We are so proud to present you with a few items to acknowledge your achievement tonight. Mr. Guilford did share that little tidbit of news with me yesterday that you might not be here, but we're so glad to be able to recognize you in front of these individuals and all of our DPS family watching around the community tonight. So first and foremost, we have your Student of the Month certificate. We have a DPS Spark Pin to make sure that everyone around Durham knows that you exemplify excellence and DPS's core beliefs. Our friends at Triangle E-Cycling want to make sure that you are powered and prepared for your future wherever it may lead you. So they want to offer you a laptop this evening. And now we have a special presentation from Brianna Kennedy. She's the Chief of Programs for the Durham Public Schools Foundation.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you to the board for allowing us to be here with you this evening. The Durham Public Schools Foundation is dedicated to supporting and championing our DPS students, families, and staff. We are proud ongoing supporters and sponsors of the DPS Teacher of the Year program, DPS Building Services Employee Appreciation Celebration, DPS Convocation, and this school year, we started being sponsors of one of the sponsors of DPS Student of the Month. The foundation believes that every child deserves well-funded, community-centered public schools, rich in materials, human resources, and programming that supports the development of the whole child. We fight for those school days in and day out partnership with DPS, and we raise funds to do that work and to distribute those efforts. The foundation sees our Students of the Month as examples of our Durham community and what happens when a combination of resources reach students, families, and school staff. We want to support your continued growth, justice, and hope that you will use this $500 gift card to further your academic endeavors, whether they are your passions in the arts, sports, and definitely in college. We're very proud of you, and we are very proud supporters of Durham Public Schools. Congratulations. Absolutely. Really nice meeting you. Thank you for your time.
Stephen, we want to invite you and your family to take a couple of pictures and also be congratulated by our board.
Take that mama tag. Oh, you know, okay. Take your tag. Little finger tag. I'll let them take one. Yeah. Don't want to mess up.
Congratulations again, Stephen. Please join me in welcoming Michelle Hayes to the podium to present our Teacher of the Month, Employee of the Month, and our Principal of the Year recognitions.
Good evening, Chairman Umstead, members of the board, Dr. Mabenga, and cabinet members. As you all know, we have started our Teacher and Employee of the Month this year. And this year, each month is represented based off of a theme. For our October Teacher and Employee of the Month, the theme is selflessness. This is the individual who has a tendency to regard the well-being of others as more important than one's own well-being. This individual is always patient, kind, humble, and often seeks to assist to help others. Our Teacher of the Month is sponsored by North Carolina Central University's tennis program, the Tau Psi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, DCL Consulting, LLC, and the Vales Care Foundation. And our Employee of the Month is sponsored by the Office of Human Resources. We're going to recognize our teacher first, then our employee. Our October Teacher of the Month is Miss Claire LeGarrick, fifth grade teacher at Glenn Elementary School. It is difficult to imagine a teacher more committed to her students and team than Miss LeGarrick. For the past 2 years, her students have exceeded growth in math and science. At the end of last year, almost 80% of her students passed one or more EOGs. Incredibly, several of these students had EVOS projections, placing their probability of proficiency on the EOG at 10% or less. All of this would be amazing in any scenario, but many of these incredible accomplishments came after COVID had forced many of these students' entire third grade year to be virtual and was her second year teaching fifth grade. Along with another colleague, Ms. LeGarrette planned every day after school to truly understand fifth grade standards, power standards, the EOG, and a new curriculum. When a colleague was on maternity leave, she stepped up and planned reading, math, and science content for the entire grade without hesitation or complaint. Ms. LeGarrette uses our Talking Points communication app to share pictures and progress with families on a regular basis. Just this week, when she received a new student, Ms. LeGarrette sent this note to the family. "We had a wonderful first day of class. It was so much fun getting to know your student today. She is so smart and sweet. She started participating right away and worked so well with her group. I wanted to share this picture of her great teamwork." For a family who has just transitioned to a new setting during a student's last year in elementary school, it is difficult to imagine a more positive note to receive. We know that the student and her family will have an amazing fifth grade year because of the academic, supportive, and caring environment she has created. Ms. LeGarrette amplifies the best in teaching, and the spark she lights for her students, families, and colleagues is unparalleled. We are grateful every day that she is on the Glenn team. Congratulations to Ms. Claire LeGarrette for being named Durham Public Schools October Teacher of the Month.
Good evening, everyone. DCL Consulting is proud to be a sponsor of the Durham Public Schools Teacher of the Month program. We are delighted to present Ms. LeGarrette with a check for her extraordinary dedication to excellence. Again, congratulations to you, and would also like to recognize Principal Hunt, because without not only the leadership and the oversight, but the insight and the ability to just capture to the best of your ability all of the wonderful duties that the teachers are performing. We wouldn't know this without your vision, without your insight. So thank you also for coming this evening. Ms. Garrett.
Our October Employee of the Month is Ms. Nasia Cotton, EC Cope Care Facilitator from Carrington Middle School. Nasia Cotton has gone above and beyond to ensure students are transitioning well from the COPE program. She keeps constant checks on the students, and she is always encouraging them to do well. She has been consistent with implementing the COPE program store and ticket rewards for students. Ms. Cotton is working with the students on social and emotional skills, as well as working with them one-on-one to meet their goals. She is a positive role model for the students, and she has shown how much she cares about the students and program with her dedication and motivational efforts. She is always willing to help when students have a crisis, have questions, and fill in whenever and wherever is needed. Not only does her hard work and dedication show in the COPE program, but also after school. She is a dedicated cheer coach. She works hard with her cheer team after school from 3:30 until 5:30 every afternoon. She is a positive role model for them and always has encouraging words for the team. Congratulations to Ms. Nasia Cotton for being named Durham Public Schools October Employee of the Month. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our 2023-2024 DPS Principal of the Year. I present to you our 2023-2024 DPS Principal of the Year, Ms. Mashenda Middleton Brown. Principal Middleton Brown started her career as a fourth grade teacher and has served R.N. Harris as a teacher and an administrator for 22 years. She believes that elementary school is the foundation of education, and her work has been driven by her commitment to students and staff. Under her leadership, R.N. Harris was designated as a B school for the first time ever. Additionally, R.N. Harris was named 2023 Blue Ribbon Lighthouse School and listed among the top 20% of schools in the state of North Carolina for academic growth. Principal Middleton Brown will now compete for the Wells Fargo Regional Principal of the Year title. So let's give another round of applause for our 2023-2024 DPS Principal of the Year. And she gets a check.
Thank you.
Do you want to say something?
Of course, I want to say thank you to my Durham Public Schools community, my R.N. Harris School family. It's more than just a community, it's family. And of course, my colleagues. Thank you so much. I wouldn't be here without them. And I do want to thank the school board, for your tireless work and dedication to Durham Public Schools. Thank you for all you do. I know you spend many late Thursday nights here. I watch you. So I appreciate all that you do to, to instill in us the capacity to, to teach our students, to instruct our students, and to nurture our students. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Mabenga, for always being a shining example for Durham Public Schools.
In Durham Public Schools, we are so very fortunate to have educators who are the best of the best in our region, state, and nation. Tonight, we would like to acknowledge Seth Stallings. Mr. Stallings is an engineering teacher at Riverside High School and DPS's 2023 CTE Teacher of the Year. He has been selected as one of the top 10 national outstanding Project Lead the Way engineering teachers for 2022-23-24. Yes. Project Lead the Way recognizes the unparalleled commitment of these educators to help every student in every grade be STEM successful and to unlock the potential of their students through PLTW programs. Mr. Stallings has performed and transformed learning experiences for students, creating a lasting impact in the classroom. We are extremely proud of you, Mr. Stallings. Congratulations.
Thank y'all for everything you do. I said this last time I was here, Durham Public Schools is the finest school system in North Carolina. thank Rick Sheldall, Tim Veligal, and Adam Davidson for capturing lightning in a bottle when they started the program, and Dr. Julie Pack for keeping it going. Every time I think we may take a dip because we lose a key person, y'all find somebody equal or better to bring in. So keep doing that, and we'll keep rolling along as best we can.
The DPS Spark Pin is presented to students, staff, and community partners who embody DPS's core beliefs. Our first Spark Pin recipient is Joseph Parrish. Mr. Parrish is one of our valued educators. He has worked for DPS for more than 30 years. And he is also one of the original staff members of Middle College High School at Durham Tech. Mr. Parrish's commitment to Middle College is unwavering. Last year, when the school's enrollment numbers were a little low, he went to libraries across Durham, Orange County, and Chapel Hill to put up flyers about Middle College. He even made a flyer and he placed it in the window of his car to advertise for the school. I like that idea. We might be talking after this. He has been instrumental in helping to grow the school's enrollment. I'm also told that he rarely misses a day of work since Principal Crystal Taylor Simon has been there, and I believe that's for maybe 5 years now. He has maybe only missed 5 days, and that's including teacher work days. He's usually the first person to arrive and always the last person to leave. He loves his job, he loves his students, and it shows. Mr. Parrish, we hope you wear this pin proudly, and we are proud of you and your commitment to DPS and its students. Thank you. Our next Spark Pin recipient is Miss Rhonda White. Miss White is the first face our students see each morning on their way to school, as she is one of our dedicated bus drivers. She transports our most precious cargo to and from schools daily, and she does it safely. Recently, she was driving her route and noticed a disturbance, and she was poised under pressure, and she took the necessary precautions to ensure that all students were safe. She does her job with dedication and enthusiasm, and her commitment shows day in and day out. We commend Ms. White for her quick thinking and for her professionalism that she brings to her role every single day. She exemplifies leadership and models excellence behind the wheel. Ms. White, we are honored to present you with this pin, and we hope that you wear it proudly. Thank you for all that you do. Our final Spark Pin recipient will be acknowledged at our November meeting due to an unforeseen conflict. This concludes our celebrations this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. I love starting our meetings with the celebrations and really getting to see and highlight some of the great things happening in Durham Public Schools. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent's update. Pass it over to Dr. Mabinga.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Durham community. I'm happy to share an update of the work being conducted to ensure student success in the Durham Public Schools. First, I would like to introduce to our community our new Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Nicholas King. A new deputy superintendent has been on board for a couple weeks now and has already had a wonderful start. We're excited for his return to DPS and his work for DPS as we're moving forward. Welcome, Dr. King. I am proud to announce that our percentage of employee vacancies has decreased from 9% last year to 3%, with only 88 open positions. That's really great. We continue to interview exceptional needs instructors, K-6 teachers, and bus drivers. Durham Public Schools offer an inclusive environment, excellent benefit, and professional development support. Please, if you know any candidates that is interested, please send them our way. Our state governor, Roy Cooper, visited and had breakfast with our student and staff at Glen Elementary School on Tuesday to announce the expansion of innovative breakfast programs. We're really excited that he had to come to make that announcement here at DPS. And Principal Matthew Hunt shares that in-class breakfast has been extremely beneficial, adding 30 minutes per day, 2.5 hours per week, 100 hours per year, approximately 3 additional weeks of instructional time for our students. That's amazing. Our Career and Technical Education Department hosted Accelerate 8 Career Exploration Day. Over 2,300 students, 8th graders, attended. A lot of us were there, including some of our board members. It was really an excitement time to see 100 businesses represented. Kudos to them, and we are so grateful that they are willing to support our students and supporting DPS as well. It was really a great opportunity for our students to see what jobs in the future is going to look like, and that's also inspired them to be able to know what classes they would like to take in the future. Thank you to our DPS Foundation, Merck, and GSK for the financial support for that particular event. I'm also pleased to share that 22 students at Riverside High School are taking college courses. Thank you to Durham Tech, and especially thank you to President J.B. Baxton. I've been really fighting for this for years. To be able to see instructors from Durham Tech coming to our campuses, offering those classes with our goal of 25% of our graduating with some kind of credentials and associate degrees in the next 5 years. We are really excited that we started this at Riverside High School, and we'll be able to expand it to other comprehensive high schools. Hopefully, board and our community, you've been able to see and read the new Weekly Spark, our newsletter created to keep you informed about what's happening in Durham Public Schools. The newsletter marks an exciting step forward in our ongoing effort to strengthen our communications, foster collaboration, and celebrate the achievement of our incredible school community. And the plus for that particular newsletter, I was really pleased to see how we start showcasing our athletes. That was a piece that was missing. And with that, we need to be celebrating all our athletes as they are enjoying schools and being able also to get some scholarship as they're moving forward past DPS. Letters has been mailed to all our current elementary families in grade K-12, informing them of their school assignment for the upcoming school year as a part of our 24-25 student assignment plan. Last evening, we concluded a series of information meetings for families to learn information about the plan and allow them to meet the principal of the new school. We will host a session exclusively for Latinx families in November. I would like to invite all DPS families to attend our showcase of schools on Saturday, November 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's going to take place at the Durham Convention Center. This is a fantastic opportunity to learn about our outstanding schools. Last year, there were over 1,000 in attendance. We are looking forward to another wonderful event as we're going to showcase our schools. Madam Chair, board members, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Mabenga. The next item on our agenda is the agenda review and approval. Board members.
Approval of the agenda. Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Valladares, seconded by Ms. Byer. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is the Board of Education monthly meeting minutes from September 28th, 2023.
An edit to the minutes. The date at the top is correct, but the date in the text is incorrect. So
Make that note.
Move approval of the minutes with the amendment as suggested, the correction. Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Byer, seconded by Ms. Carter Alton. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is our general public comment. Before we get started, I want to do a quick review of the rules. Please state your name. And if you're speaking for an organization, please state your name and the name of the organization. Second, our speakers are asked to present their comments within 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, you have 1 minute left to start winding up your remarks. When the red light comes on, it will beep, and that indicates that your time is up. Complaints about named staff, students, or parents should not be voiced in open session. However, we are very interested in hearing your concerns with regard to public education, safety of students, or to the operation of the school system. Finally, the board members will listen carefully and will consider your comments, but we do not engage in a discussion with our speakers. The first person on our list is Christian, I apologize in advance, I'm gonna butcher your last name, Kothar Par, see?
Christian Colthart Parr.
Thank
I'm
you.
a teacher at Southern School of Energy and Sustainability. I teach a skilled trades pathway. Thank you for having me. I am proposing that we build a sidewalk along Clayton Road from Cheek Road all the way to Chandler, where there is a bus stop. This would be the first thing that we should do in the long run of maybe getting a sidewalk on Freeman. If you've ever driven that road, it's very curvy, people speed, and it's dangerous. And we know our students care about their shoes, right? And a lot of our students will not walk on the grass. And so I've seen students walking in the road. High traffic patterns from Google Maps says 8 to 10, 4 to 6, right? It is a link between two major roads that we need to address. This was presented 7 years ago with Mr. Leathers and the PTA at Southern. And, I come here today to rejuvenate, talk about it again. I'm every day, right? 8 in the morning, along that curved road, when I'm coming to school, the sun is right in your eyes, right? And if there is drizzle or fog or your windshield is fogged, you will not see anybody on the side of that road. And it's literally 6 inches and then it drops off. It's very dangerous. I hope that we be proactive board members in this instead of coming to a definite disaster and being reactive, right? We talk about safety for our students. This is number one, right? And we've had 2 large neighborhoods built right there in the past 2 years, and it's going to continue to build. There's a lot of woods out there, and companies are can continue to build housing. So allowing our students to walk or ride their bikes or however children should be able to get to school safely is important. And right now it is not safe. I also propose that in light of what happened today on newsreel, I propose having guard stations at the 2 entries and exits at Southern. We have way too much traffic coming onto campus. And before it becomes an issue in which everybody would be affected, I think that we should really start bringing security into light, paid SROs at traffic times, right? In the morning, school, athletic events, that type of thing, really let their presence be known. so the community and those that wish to do us harm know that there will be issues, right? That is it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment speaker, and again, I apologize if I mispronounce your names. Please correct me when you get to the podium. I think it's Brittany McGraw.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me the moment to speak. My name is Brittany McGraw. I am a treasurer of Durham School of the Arts, PTSA. So I am coming just by myself as a parent, because I'm a little bit concerned. We have new plans to build a new school for DSA. And parents in the community and taxpayers were to have a meeting to go over this, and we were not given that opportunity. The meeting was canceled. There has been no reschedule of that meeting. So I'm a little bit concerned just from my students' perspective, my school, as to when the community and the taxpayers are going to be able to kind of ask those questions, see those plans. Because again, the board has been saying a lot of transparency, like we want to give transparency. We've not seen anything. So my question and challenge to the board is when are we going to have that meeting, if one is going to be had, or when is the transparency going to be really transparent? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Lakeisha Lucas.
Thank you for allowing me time as well. Similar to Brittany, I am also a PTSA member, but also have a child that's at Durham School of the Arts. So in speaking with like some of the other parents and different people around, I think everyone kind of has like an idea what's happening, but no one has concrete plans. So my concern is that, you know, are there concrete plans? And if they are, you know, we would like to see them, of course, but also kind of learn the logistics around what's going to happen. Because again, with so many rumors going around, everyone kind of gets a little bit startled, right? And then everyone becomes very concerned about what's going to happen and how is this going to lay out. In addition to how is it going to be better than the DSA that we already are in currently. So those are my main objectives that I'd like to know is just how are things going to happen, what's going to happen logistically, then how will the classes and the teachers and everyone kind of surface around throughout the school. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That concludes our public comment. The next item on our agenda is our consent items. The board has reviewed these items in advance of our meeting. Board, what's your pleasure?
Move approval of the consent agenda. A second.
It's been moved by Ms. Rogers, seconded by Ms. Lewis. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. And it passes unanimously. The next item on our two items on our agenda are going to come from our Chief of Schools, Dr. Tanya Giovanni. I'll pass. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm sorry. Chief of Staff, Chief of Schools. I mixed that up. I apologize. My bad. I'm sorry. Dr. Stacy Stewart. I'm sorry, Dr. Stewart.
Yeah, she's online. Yeah.
Good evening. I apologize for not being able to be in person, but my condition requires me to stay away. I am joined this evening by Ashley Stevens, the Director of Innovation, and she will present the 2-year calendar adoption request for the next 2 years. Ashley?
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Good evening, Dr. Mabenga, board members, and those joining us tonight. Tonight, I bring to you our recommendation for the next 2 years, 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 instructional calendars. Our recommendations will include traditional and year-round calendar types. We will return with specialty calendar recommendations once our partner college and university release their academic calendars. Next slide, please. All proposed calendars are in compliance with state laws. This includes for traditional calendar schools, the proper start and end date as currently permitted by the state, the required number of days or hours. DPS currently tracks hours. Our calendars meet the hourly requirement with additional bank time to ensure we are prepared for inclement weather days. Minimum of 9 teacher workdays, which ours includes more. Inclusion of the required holidays as outlined by the North Carolina Office of State Human Resources. 10 annual leave days, and ensures that staff does not work any more or less than the required 215 days, including all of the days aforementioned above. Next slide, please. The calendar process begins with a representative from each school joining to create the draft calendars and provide feedback, as this information is gathered over multiple meetings. There is then feedback received from various district departments. The drafts are then opened up to the community to provide additional feedback. Once all feedback has been considered, final draft copies are sent to the schools. Principals work to ensure all staff have an opportunity to review the calendar drafts and vote. They then submit the majority vote to me. It is also noted that each school only votes for its calendar type. This process took place in late fall, early winter for the past 2 calendar processes. We have worked to start this process earlier to ensure we are able to provide that information to our community, as we do also have elementary schools changing calendar types next school year. Next slide, please. This year, community feedback was received through the Engage platform. Feedback was received in English and Spanish, and in addition to reviewing the comments made on social media posts directing families to engage. Next slide, please. While the committee works to ensure that there are draft calendars created that have an academic focus, so students and teachers are in school for uninterrupted periods of instructional time, there are additional areas of consideration. There is a strong acknowledgement of ensuring that non-academic needs of students, staff, and the needs of our families be weighed in also. This includes aligning at least 1 week of traditional and year-round spring break for families operating on multiple calendars, that year-round calendars have approximately 3 weeks for intercession, and that there is a teacher workday at the end of each quarter. Next slide, please. Our recommendations based on the school voted majority are, next slide, please. For the traditional calendar 2024-2025 school year, the majority vote was for option A. For 2025-2026 school year, the majority vote was also option A. Next slide, please. For the year-round calendar 2024-2025 school year, the majority vote was option B. And for 2025-2026 school year, the majority calendar vote was option A. Next slide, please. To ensure families operating on multiple calendars are able to plan and prepare during the spring break time, each calendar comes with 1 week of alignment, which is listed here. Next slide, please. I now open the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. I appreciate that presentation. Board members, are there any questions? I'll go with you, Ms. Valladares, to start.
More like a request. I appreciated Dr. Stewart and yourself just sharing this with us in our subcommittee meeting. And there was something that was so, I think a highlight for me that just talked about how this process has, improved over time. And I just wanted that to be shared if that's okay, in terms of like how this process played out before, where it was like multiple meetings and the pieces had to come together and somebody had to consolidate all the feedback, and how you have made that process. And I just want to, shout out like
Absolutely.
efficiency in that.
Thank you. So yes, previously these meetings did take place in person, and it was done through a paper format. So that meant that all of the various calendar options and feedback that the people in the calendar committee would give would then have to come back, and we would have to figure out how that all matched up together. We now utilize an electronic process. So when we sit down in the calendar meeting, we actually have an electronic version of the calendars that as we move dates to see what the implications would be, it tallies it for us and we're able to see that implication in real time. So it's no longer lots of feedback, try to figure it all out in one. We're all looking at the same piece together.
Ms. Byer?
But I just wanted to extend gratitude to you because this is incredibly complex work. It's something that the North Carolina School Boards Association has been lobbying to return calendar control to local districts for so long because it's a impossible puzzle that you all try to do, and especially keeping in mind the needs of students first. There are some changes in this year's calendar in regards to professional learning days moving to Fridays, if I'm reading that correctly, and I'd like you to have a chance to talk about that decision point and whether you feel like we will have attendance that is strong from our teachers if we make this move to Friday afternoon when they've traditionally been on Wednesdays.
Yes, so actually in this school calendar year, our early release days are on Friday. And that was something that was considered in the last calendar process. There was a lot of discussion about what that would look like. Understanding that early release days or teacher work days are not synonymous with break, and that is time for professional development and learning. And one thing that I can appreciate from our families and our teachers, that break in the middle of the week of instruction did not give itself to the students or the teachers when they had to return on a Thursday after an off week. So this was able to better align with our families that asked for some consistency and when those days fall, and for our teachers to be given that professional latitude to not then have to deal with what comes after it instructionally on Thursday.
Yeah, that's great. And I appreciate the reminder. I frankly don't babysit as much on early release days, which is great at my house. I just hope that y'all will continue to track both, adult attendance at PLCs and then that students don't just necessarily take 3-day weekends because it's tucked up against a weekend. And then if you could speak to the inclusivity of all faith traditions in some holidays that we are being inclusive of, Muslim holidays, Jewish holidays. Do you know which of those are we were able to accommodate in these calendar versions?
Yeah, so that is one part that is definitely a little bit more challenging. We look at lots of different faith bases. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 faith-based religions that we actually just kind of look at those days over the calendar. And it always does become a difficult process as we do not want to value one over the other. So specifically in these calendars, we are able in the first calendar, there is time for people of the Jewish community to be honored, to honor Yom Kippur in the first year's calendar, and Eid. Those are not in the second calendar.
When you're saying the first and the second calendar, you draft A and B? Or
I apologize for the
just-
2024, 2025 calendar.
So we can do it for next year, but the following year you weren't able to accommodate that?
Yes, part of it is because of where they fall. One of the biggest difficulties in our puzzle is the holidays that are required by the state. Wherever they happen to fall, it lends itself differently to how many days we have to move around. So typically, if the state mandated holiday for Good Friday is a little bit earlier and it connects to our spring break time, that gives us more room and flexibility with where we put our teacher work days. In the event that it falls later in the year, then typically we try to honor that time and connect that with the end of our quarter, which is when the teacher work day also goes. So we have less flexibility for where our teacher work days will fall throughout the rest of the year.
Y'all work the puzzle every which way, I'm sure, trying to.
So another big consideration was we looked at balancing our semesters currently because our semester ends after the holiday, which happens because of when we have to start school. This year, we were able to balance our semesters also. And that's another way that we're able to kind of have some more flexibility of if we move those teacher work days that typically fall at the end of our semester. So these calendars went with balancing those versus moving that work day.
Any other questions, Ms. Breyer?
No, I really think it's something that we've made tremendous progress on, and I'd hate to see us go backwards. So if in the interim, between now and the 25-26 year, if y'all are able to, whichever one the second one is, if y'all are able to accommodate that, I think it is so important. And even if not, then noting those on the calendar so that our teachers and families can be aware. I don't know, it just doesn't, the work towards inclusivity has been long overdue. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Ms. Chavez?
Thank you for this. And I wanted to say I really appreciate you adjusting the process to move it up earlier, and the way you collected feedback from the schools. I think, and from people, from the families, from those who are going to be most invested in this calendar. So thank you so much for all of that. The thing that stood out to me in looking at it that might be a bit of a change is that in the 25-26 school year, the whole week of Thanksgiving, students are out. And so I'll just be interested to see, and just if you had any comment on this, I'd be interested to hear if that will be helpful, because, will we have, let me back up. I imagine there are a lot of students, or we have a higher number of students who don't come to school that Monday and Tuesday before the Thanksgiving holiday. I wonder if we'll be able to kind of then avoid that drop in attendance for those days. I also know that last year we had some, their staff who take off as well. And so that can be a concern. So I'm just wondering if after we implement particularly the 25-26 calendar, if we'll maybe try to keep that change of having that week off for students and mostly off for staff. So
Absolutely. And that's definitely data that we can pull and track over these next 2 years, even the years prior to this. And I will say that we tried to make that consideration happen in the first year. But again, just given where the first day we start and where things had to fall, that was not something that became a high priority, given some of the other shifts we made.
I understand you're balancing a lot, not a criticism, but just I'll be interested to see how
Thank
it plays out. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna add one more thing to the jigsaw puzzle. We received some emails from families about election day this year. And I know that there's some days that we already know that are election days, but we may not have 25 on the calendar yet, 2025. But I just wanted to know, were you all able to consider that within the calendars?
Yes, so the November voting day was considered in all the options. So of course it came out in our recommendations. And for 2026, our next even year, including the May day as well. So that was another additional day that we added to support that day in May for voting.
And I think if there are we realize other things come up that we haven't included, whether off-year primaries, if we can bring that back, I think it'd just be really helpful for those to be work days. And so schools can be polling places and there's not any concerns around lots of folks coming in and out to vote while students are present. So I appreciate that. Even in this discussion, it illuminates all the different pieces that you have to work around within the constraints of the state, the days that the state give you. So I just want to say thank you for considering all those different things.
Absolutely.
Is there any other discussion from board members? Happy to take a motion if we feel moved.
I move approval of the calendars.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the instructional calendars for 2024, 25, 25, 26. Is there any other discussion? Right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is from Dr. Stewart is the low performing school improvement plans.
Good evening, Chair Umstead, members of the board, and Dr. Mbenga. This evening, we will present our preliminary school improvement plan, along with how our school leaders at 15 schools designated as low performing by the state measures have engaged in the work of planning toward an improved school improvement plan in compliance with state guidance. I have asked three colleagues to join me for this presentation because they can articulate their experiences in this process. I'm going to ask the following persons to join at the podium. We have Lori McNulty, the Director of Professional Learning. Emery Wyckoff, Principal of Bethesda. And Otis Maben, Principal of Y.E. Smith Elementary School. Next slide, please. Last year, we presented the 2022, 2023, and 23-24 school improvement plans for the two-year cycle. During that time, we shared the collaborative, comprehensive process whereby school improvement teams own the planning process. They analyze multiple data types to include perception, demographics, school processes, as well as learner outcomes to establish school goals and strategies toward improvement. Those plans were approved. This year, all schools followed the same process with a few improvements based on the launch of Durham Public Schools Building Our Future plan. Because we seek to work smarter and not harder, this year, all schools were required to develop SMART goals in alignment with our strategic plan. Next slide, please. Per NCDPI's guidance, we are to share the preliminary school improvement plan and our plan for notifying parents of schools labeled performing. Next slide, please. The General Statute 115C-10537 and A1 identifies low performing schools and the expectation that schools are identified annually based upon the school's performance grade. Schools with a performance grade of D or C and a school score of met expected growth or not met expected growth are labeled low performing. As a result of this label, a plan for improving these schools is required. Next slide, please. Additionally, districts are required to provide written notification to parents/guardians within 30 days of the school's low performance label, inclusive of performance grade and growth score received, information from the preliminary plan, meeting date for the preliminary plan, and a description of any additional steps to improve student performance. Next slide, please. October the 5th began the State Board of Education's designated timeline for implementing required actions of school leaders and school improvement planning in alignment with low performance sanctions. Within the first 30 days, districts are required to share a preliminary school improvement plan to the local school board, inclusive of improvement strategies and the role of district leaders in the process. Now, I would like to pass the mic to Lori McNulty, Director of Professional Learning, who will walk us through the visual of DPS Continuous Improvement Plan. Ms. McNulty.
Thank you. We are poor substitutes for Dr. Stewart, but we appreciate your including us a little bit. Next slide, please. Thank you. So school improvement really is just continuous improvement. And I think most of you know that's an area near and dear to my heart. We always start with data. So we literally pull multiple dozens of data points. We look at program evaluations and comprehensive reviews. That's both at the school level and at the district level. Then we go ahead and we make our plans, and we're going to talk about each of these in more depth as we go through the presentation. So this is just an overview, but schools make their plans. Central office plans layers of support for those schools. Then we move into implementation, and you see the word IndusStar there. That is Department of Public Instruction's platform for housing school improvement plans. Schools implement, central office comes in and does support and feedback. That is part of the monitoring, but we also have a new director of school improvement, Pam Johnson, who has been a wonderful addition to the team in supporting central office and schools. And then we go to that final step of looking at additional resources, revising plans, and seeing what supports are needed. Slide, please.
The next step in the process focus on our non-negotiables that have been laid out by the people who have focused on the strategic plan. I wanted to say Dr. Mabenga, but we hear these non-negotiables. We live and breathe the non-negotiables because we understand that the non-negotiables are required to give students exactly what they need. These non-negotiables are connected to our school improvement plan. Our school improvement teams are aware of the requirements. We connected with our families as well through family engagement events. But we also want to begin by setting realistic goals, focusing on the data that is coming from the CNI team, and then focusing on those targeted students and the student and all students as a whole, because we want to make sure that we then move into providing the intervention plans for those who are falling behind. It is our goal as a labeled low-performing school that we have a professional development plan that adheres and differentiates to the needs of the vast educators that we're getting these days. We have some who have been in the field for several years. We have those who are in the middle, and we have those that are BTs. So with that, and that's just the state of education at this point. And with that, we want to provide a differentiated professional development plethora of learning for our educators. Finally, on this slide, I would say the family engagement piece has always been a requirement or non-negotiable with the strategic plan, and allowing parents to understand what it takes for the whole child to learn, a connection between school, family. We have a large EL population at Bethesda Elementary. So we want to make the connection. We want to build programs that the whole child, the families can participate in, so that we build a well-rounded community together. Okay, next slide, please.
So every school is provided a school improvement template to support their planning. We're not going to spend a lot of time on each of these, but we'll give you a glimpse to see how they align to the strategic plan. Priority 1 obviously focuses on both growth and proficiency, specifically targeting the needs of the school. And if you'll notice, schools don't have to fill out every piece of the template. They only use the ones that apply to their grade band. Okay. Next slide, please. Priority 2 focuses really on the whole child, on goals for safety, for social emotional learning, and around equity. Next slide, please. Priority 3 is about finding and keeping excellent staff. Next slide, please. Priority 4 is really looking at current state of community engagement and moving more towards that desired state to bring families in to become an inherent part of the school. Next slide, please. And priority 5 targets the fiscal state of the school, which is sometimes an ever shifting target depending on our Title I funding and other factors each year. Next slide, please.
Good evening. So I want to talk about some of our school level activities, and just to say that this process really started in June with our leadership retreat. We were provided with some excellent professional development and training, and we were charged as leaders. And as a leader that has been promoted from within, this process has been super clear. It's been super helpful, and I have received personally a tremendous amount of support. And so starting from July until August, we have been digging into our comprehensive needs assessment, really creating intentional practices for our students and our staff. And from there, aligning and realigning our school improvement teams, ensuring that we are developing those intervention plans and ensuring that schools are only as strong as the head. And so moving from the head down, we then meet with our district teams, and we've been preparing those intervention plans, but also those incentive plans. As we mentioned earlier, the state of our education, where teachers are, is as important that as we are celebrating students, that we're also remembering our teachers as well. And so within the month of September, we had the opportunity to present those plans to the school improvement team, district level teams, and then they were able to also give us support and feedback as we are awaiting those fall check-ins, and then they'll continuously give us some more improvement and feedback on that.
One thing that happens also in those meetings, there are opportunities to request additional funding sources to support the overall learning of the program. Now, earlier I mentioned that we're living it, we're breathing it, and it has happened to me, okay? So let me be clear when I say this. On October 19th, we were infiltrated by about 9 central office staff members. And I say infiltrated because, you know, we're on a mission, right? We're on a mission to improve student achievement. So we were infiltrated. There are about 47 classrooms that were observed, especially those, and this was all the way K through 5. You know, they did not allow the principal or the assistant principal to walk with them. I'm sure if we had asked, we could have, but we want the authentic truth. Once that was done, there were I had to meet with my supervisor and answer about 50 questions, which were very insightful, but it was helpful. I remember meeting with Dr. Stewart after that meeting, and it was good to hear that all of this was tying together. So, and I know that I have the support of the central office team. What keeps me coming every day is because I know that DPS has a clear, defined plan that works if you work it.
I don't know how to follow that part, but next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk through the mirror image from central office side. This is a huge part of our central office work. I mean, that's what we're here for, to support the schools. So in July and August, we gathered large teams across all departments in central office. Again, you know, I talked about the multiple data points. We do that analysis. We sit down and we talk about the data. We draw our own conclusions. We look at the multiple platforms, and then we create a tiered layers of support for each area. So how will ESL support students? How will professional learning support teachers? We go through each department and differentiate support plans. We move into September and support them in creating their plans. And then the principals come and deliver their school improvement plans to subsets of that team. We then give them feedback, help them think through their goals, think through the supports available to achieve their goals. So then when we get to that blue column, which really is where we are now, that's when we start the implementation. So they have had weeks and weeks of implementing their plan. We come in and try to provide an objective set of eyes and say, here's what you want to do, here are your goals, and here's what we see about your progress towards those goals. To support that, we during principal meetings talk about the 7 domains of school improvement, and we help principals really understand and have a vision of excellence around those, and norm practice doing video calibration so that we all have a common understanding of language and expectations. Afterwards, we do write up a report. The reports are delivered by principal supervisors and by Dr. Stewart. And then our teams come in with support requested. So Mr. Wyckoff and I and his ILT team meet at least monthly to talk about the professional development needed for his wide range, from many beginning teachers to many veteran teachers. And then we continue that monitoring going back to Industar and document. Next slide, please. I believe we're back to Dr. Stewart.
So as you can infer, there has been a lot of movement and engagement among school and district leaders in support of our schools labeled low performing. The superintendent has established the school leadership non-negotiables, which he considers to be the recipe for success. All schools, to include the 15 designated as low performing schools, are to implement these strategies with fidelity, in addition to any other strategies unique to their school's needs. District leaders are actively involved in this process. Data generated from school visits is used to not only provide feedback to school leaders, but used toward collaborative efforts between schools and district department leaders, as noted by Lori McNulty. Our approach is comprehensive. The goal is for school leaders to feel supported during this process. And thank you for acknowledging that support, Mr. Wyckoff. Next slide, please. Again, within the first 30 days, we are to provide parent notification. Next slide, please. Here is a summary of DPS's actions towards state compliance. From September through October of this academic year, the school improvement teams engaged in data analysis, school improvement plan development, presented their improvement plans to the district improvement team, and received assistance and guidance toward updating their school improvement efforts in Industar, which is the platform required by the State Board of Education for school and district high quality work for improving schools. It is worth noting, Industar does not capture the essence of the full scope of the school improvement process. Yet it reports the work of the school improvement team to include school goals, SIT meetings, dates, agendas, strategies, and progress towards meeting those strategies. By tomorrow, October the 27th, all schools will post their parent notification on their school's website, which informs parents of this process and provides the time frame for providing written feedback toward their plan. There will be a thorough review of the information placed in IndaStar before the plan is presented to the board on November 16th for approval. Afterwards, plans will be submitted to the State Board of Education through NC STAR, which is IndaStar. Next slide, please. Here you will find the name of the 15 schools designated as low performing, along with guest login and passwords for accessing their plans in IndaStar. Next slide, please. This slide contains a visual of how to access a school's plan in IndaStar. One should go to the school's webpage, click on About Us, scroll down and click on the link to School Improvement Plan. It should contain, now notice, it should contain the link to IndaStar along with the school's guest login and password. Next slide, please. We will take questions and engage in discussion at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart, and to the team that's joined us today. I like how you rephrased this, Mr. Wyckoff. We don't have low performing schools. We got schools that are labeled by the state as low performing. We know we have excellent educators and wonderful students in each one of these buildings who are working hard and high performing. So thank you all for that. Board members, are there any questions, comments? I'm sure there are. Ms. Valladares.
I want to thank you so much for coming here tonight and also, for the work that you put in. We actually got to see quite a bit of your slides. Yeah, we were able to go in there and it's quite extensive, and you aligned it to also our strategic plan, priority 1, 2. I mean, so much that was laid out and also some of the resources that were on there. So the plan is there, and definitely, I did acknowledge some of the same things that we've had, just throughout in education. There's so many things, so many factors, so many moving pieces, right? There's some things that we can account for as best as we can, and we're responsible for everything, even the things that are not even up to us, right? However, when you have such a clear plan, and you have the engagement, and you even talked about community partners that you're already, like, everything was in there, like, you're looking beyond as to who else is there to support this work that takes a whole community, right? So I just commend both of you. There were so many, we were sitting in that meeting and looking into some of the plans and how extensive, they are, but very clear, about serving our students the best way that we can. And so I just want to shout y'all out, and I will also, let us know, how we can continue to support, because I do understand that these labels don't take the full account of all that goes on in a school building, in a school community with the leadership. And also it doesn't really take account the chronological steps, that have been taken and the things that are in place right now that will reap benefits, just if you just wait a little longer. So we're going to see those things. We're going to see all of that. I'm very hopeful, just very proud. And thank you again for coming here tonight.
Ms. Byer.
So thank you all for this presentation. Thank you for digging deep. Thank you for your leadership for our beautiful school communities, for our beautiful, brilliant children, and our beautiful, brilliant, dedicated educators and classified staff. It is heartbreaking to this board that the state has chosen over and over and over again, year after year, to stigmatize schools that need support. And so I want you to know that I am so thankful for your leadership. I want you to, and your folks to know we love you and appreciate the leadership every day. 100%, y'all are doing glorious work. Several of us were on a great webinar with the other Dr. Bettina Love today, who really reminded us that this is transformational justice work. that you are doing, that systems in this country are so broken. So I would love to hear you, if you don't mind, since we have you here, tell us about your amazing schools and ways that you are breaking new ground, new systems, innovating, things that you love about your school. Just a paragraph or two about your school and how great it is so that folks can hear and celebrate with you.
Well, I'll begin since I'm the closest to the mic. So Bethesda Elementary School, many of you have come last year. I saw your faces when the mayor was there. Great things that are happening at Bethesda, the diversity of students, the diversity of staff. Of course, our kids are coming in smiling, giving hugs. I mean, I'm 6'3" and they're at my knees and they're giving me hugs. So it's a family atmosphere for one. Safety. We are a safe school. I am the type of principal that you'll see me 20,000 times a day because I have to be hands-on. So the level of professionalism and teacher capacity, it was really tough when I first came in and couldn't find those teachers. However, I stand before you and say we are fully staffed. So we have grown leaps and bounds. Our theme this year is Watch Us Grow. And so as we walk down the hallways and teachers know what growth means, they know that the students are growing, they're growing professionally. I described it the other day as a rubber band. So as the rubber band stretch, we have to continue to make sure that it doesn't come back together, but that it continues to stretch because we have to grow. One of the greatest gifts, this was one of my Thankful Thursdays, one of the greatest gifts is to give the kids the quality and the ability to read. You change lives. When I look at my students, I see myself because I am a product of them. Thank you.
I would like to echo my colleague here is that I'm new to YU Smith and it's been an amazing journey thus far. We are a small but mighty community. And one thing that I love about the students and the staff is that everybody is thirsty and eager for learning and change. And so our theme this year is Project Impact. And so we know that everything that we do is driven towards the impact of student achievement. And so the parents have come on board, they're coming into the building every day. You would think I've been there for like 10 years because just like my colleague just said, when I walk in, the students are running to me, giving me hugs. It's like I've been there for 10 years. And so I'm just continuously to build upon that community of love. And I'm constantly challenging them. I'm challenging my staff to dig deeper into their potential and dig deeper into their skill sets. I often tell them that a teacher stands between a child and their dreams. And so we are dream catchers. And our goal is to make sure that our students reach their dreams and reach their full potential. And so I'm excited about the work. It's challenging, but it's exciting because I know that we can do it. And so I've been echoing something that I heard at the leadership conference in June is that we can and we will. And so every staff meeting, I'm just putting that in there. I'm sowing those seeds, not only to my students, but into my staff members that we can and we will.
Got strong leadership in Durham Public Schools. Thank you all. Any other comments from board members, questions? Ms. Lewis.
So I just want to thank you for, I want to thank you for this presentation. I think that this felt like a walk in the year of academic excellence. This is the blueprint that any other district needs to look at. The way that you shared the mirror, your personal experience, the mirror from central office to the schools and the collaboration is inspirational. I have never gotten this level of detail in a report for what's happening in the academics. We always get the what. So we have the strategic plan and we get the updates from the strategic plan in regards to what's in process and what's taking place and what we're still working on. But the level of detail you all talking about the how today and this collaboration has really made it come alive. And I thank you and I appreciate all that's gone into the collaborations and ultimately for these children, for these students to excel and reach their fullest potential. I appreciate the mirror and the partnership that you shared. I think about the strategic plan and how your school improvement plan is aligning with that. And I remember before there was a strategic plan at DPS, to have that guidance, to have that now. Thank you, Dr. Mabanga, for your leadership, along with the non-negotiables. Because even when I look at that, I still got the how, but you all brought that to life and how you are using these non-negotiables to build and to working towards student success. So I definitely feel like this has been a blueprint that DPS has shared its playbook tonight. I would like just to, again, offer the encouragement, the support, whatever the board can do in policy to continue to inspire, encourage, motivate, make life easier for you all to do what you were passionate and called to do. So just again, we're here for that. I appreciate the mental health days that have been added. We heard you. I keep hearing about the leadership conference and the wellness and morale that was done as well. So just well done, DPS, and thank you for this presentation.
Mrs. Carter-Otton.
I'll echo my colleagues and say thank you so much for being here. This has been wonderful. We love having Dr. Stewart, but it's really nice to see y'all tonight to get some look at view from what's happening on the ground, right? So that's wonderful. The plan looks beautiful, and we've had a chance to look at some of the individual school plans too, and those are even more robust and impressive once you see what the schools have put together. So thank you. I do have one question. I think it might be more for Dr. Stewart. Still there. Right? I think she's still there.
I'm here.
So I really appreciate that this plan is aligned with the strategic plan. I'm a little bit concerned or have questions about goal 2A and the alignment, because in our strategic plan, we said that by 2024, DPS would develop measures of fidelity for implementation of the the CEL curriculum. And in these plans, we're asking schools to measure the extent to which they're implementing with fidelity. And I know in like at least one plan it indicated that a school was planning to implement with 80% fidelity. If they don't have measures in place that they're following, I'm curious to know how are they each developing their own measures? Like 80% fidelity of implementation could look different for each person in this room, right? If we each had to define it. So just curious to know more about how in practice we're aligning that original strategic plan with this school improvement plan, and specifically with that measure there.
Okay, so I'll say thank you for that question. And again, that measure is at the district level. But in order for us to have 100% implementation with fidelity of those plans at the district level, it starts at the individual school. And so with that, I'm going to ask both Mr. Wyckoff as well as Mr. Mabin to name the actual SEL plan curriculum that has been adopted at their school and how they are going to measure the implementation of it at their schools. We can start with Mr. Wyckoff.
So the SEL program that we have at our school is Second Step. Our counselors push in because they're more trained in that area of expertise. And so we are following, it is a scripted program. We are following it to the fidelity. We have divided the grade levels so that the counselor that's more trained for the younger kids are implementing that program for the young kids as well as the elders, if I'm answering your question correctly. Now, that program allows a script curriculum. So we ensure, I monitor, our assistant principals monitor on a regular basis to ensure that the teachers are giving the kids exactly what they need through evaluation processes and observation processes as well, which will ensure a 100% of implementation of fidelity for the students, if I'm answering your question correctly. All right.
And at YU Smith, we are a Capturing Kids Heart school. And so we have staff members, of course, that are trained at various levels. Some have done it for a few years, some are totally new to it. And so one of the first things that I had to do was select teams within my school to get trained so that they would then, of course, create a school-based team that would then later train other team members in our school. And so what I had to then do create is kind of a comprehensive plan of what capturing kids' heart would look like. Because I am new and that wasn't a practice that was consistent, I did have to reset and kind of renorm everything with that team. And so we have checkpoints and baseline things that we're looking for example, greeting kids at the door and using the checks and different systems. So the teachers have been explained what that process looks like. Each week when I'm getting ready to do my walkthrough, as a part of my announcements to them is that I'm letting them know I'm looking for this. Even in their daily walkthrough, they get feedback whether or not I saw opportunities for that. And so it's been clearly explained to them what implementation should look like at this point by each quarter. And so we're having to build upon that based upon the experiences of our teachers.
And I just like to say, when we go into the buildings conducting our SIP review visit, we have information. We're utilizing those presentations that the principal shared. And so like Ms. McNulty made note of, we have that information. When we go into the schools, it's like, you said you're gonna do this, these are your goals. And we're looking for indicators of success, indicators of implementation. And if we walk into a school and you say capturing kids' heart, that is your framework, and we do not see evidences of that throughout our visit, that is noted, and we're providing feedback as well. And to your point, in terms of developing the district-wide measure, that's still a work in progress.
Can I add a little bit? So we also have a district-wide professional learning dashboard that shows any district level offerings for SEL curricula, and you can see attendance by school, by individual, lots of different ways. Additionally, every school has a professional learning dashboard. So any in-house professional learning that they give, they get to see that. Plus we have the panorama data dashboard, and that SEL survey provides yearly metrics that they can compare their in-house data to.
Thank you all. That's really helpful to see and to hear again how you're doing this on the ground. It sounds like it's a really robust process, which is so critical. We rely on the social emotional learning for all sorts of things, right? To improve all sorts of outcomes for our students. So,
and not to belabor, but I have to say, we are a restorative practice school. I am a firm believer that we have to teach replacement behaviors. We need our kids in school, okay? So in order for us to do that, we have to teach kids how to code switch in their communities as well as in school. So we are a restorative practice school. We are trained by central office staff. There are trackers all around us and data that we can see and determine monthly whether we are effective or ineffective as relates to our restorative practice as well.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Chavez?
Just wanted to say thank you. I agree. This was great just to hear the process, and as Ms. Lewis said, you brought it to life. So that was really awesome. I don't think I have any questions, but I just wanted to underscore the point about leadership. I'm so proud of the leadership that we have in our district and the layers of support that I can see through this process are just great and necessary. And Dr. Stewart, I really appreciate your leadership in this arena, and of course, Dr. Mubenga. This is what's going to continue to move us forward and our students. I also appreciated the point about the teacher-student relationship. I think data has shown that that is the #1 catalyst for student achievement. And so the more we can support our educators and help them to grow wherever they're starting at, as you were pointing out, is really important. And the last thing I just wanted to say is, our students are facing all different kinds of challenges that cannot be forgotten, that we have many students who are affected by racism, who are affected by the effects of poverty, broken immigration system, and other issues, as well as issues or challenges in their immediate environments. And that's not to say all of our students, and those are not obstacles that cannot be overcome. And so that's what we're really trying to address. I appreciate the point you just made about code switching. We need to have those conversations with our students to let them know that they are welcome as they are in our schools. And we want them to succeed as they are, not to turn into somebody else in order to achieve. So thank you. And I hope you will be able to continue to support your work as the board and see that growth over time. Thanks. And one last thing is just, I wanted to say, we also put out there our goals and our wishes and our desires for our young people. And it takes time. It doesn't always happen in the time that we want it to, which is not to say we're not pushing for it, but so that's something that we're aware of as well as a board, and that growth happens because you plant the seed and then you continue to feed it. So thank you.
Ms. Valladares.
Thank you so much. I started with just commenting on your plan, right? The school improvement plan, and how looking into it, I was like, wow, this is extensive and it has everything. Everything you've said right now is on that plan.
Absolutely.
And that is a celebration because there's nothing new, right? Like I'm looking at like priority 2, which was the question, right? And it's provide a safe and healthy school environment that supports the whole child. And by 2024, Bethesda will implement the restorative practices framework. And second step, you mentioned second step in there, curriculum with 100% fidelity. So you laid that out, that you are 100% fidelity. That is the goal. And there's actually like even a target, like a like a bullseye, and then I found, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to just mention the next one when you talk about attendance. And you mentioned that tonight, like how important it is and how that ties in, because we want our kids in our school buildings. We don't want to disenfranchise. I mean, once we lose a child's trust and their ability to actually even want to come to the building, we've lost the fight. And I think that is the crux of the plans. There's the plan, and it is as extensive, and you get kudos for that. And that goal of 2024 Bethesda will have an overall student attendance rate of at least 95%. With all the things that are happening, mental health, food insecurity, gentrification that is affecting housing for our kids. There's so many challenges, but you're not focused on the storms.
Yeah.
You're saying there's an eye in every storm, and Bethesda is that place, and the same thing for YU Smith. Like, that's why those plans, like I really, really appreciated everything you laid out, because everything you've said tonight, you laid it out in that plan. And so we're so excited. We're definitely very grateful that at the district level, we do have restorative practices throughout the district that we want to continue to see, that every school has 100% implementation of SEL, social emotional learning, that is implemented. And that those are things that we can celebrate, because already, like at our district level, we've gotten to a point where we started kind of slow with restorative practices. We started kind of slow with SEL over the years, and we're at a point where it's like, implementation, right? And so I just wanted to just again go back to that plan, school improvement plan, year 2. Let's go. And what is, hold on, it's hold on, you said it's ready, set, and grow.
Yes, right.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
There comments or questions? I have just one question, but thank y'all again so much for this. And we know that equity is one of the pillars of everything that we do. Y'all didn't say this explicitly, but I already know you're disaggregating your data when you're looking at it and looking at subgroups. So I just want to know if you had any things that you're implementing that you could highlight around equity and supporting subgroups of students.
Well, I will talk about some work that we have been doing together. In their PLCs, they have been doing some lesson deep dives And one of the questions they ask is, how will these activities support those furthest from justice? So they look at the lesson, they completely list every skill that is needed for mastery in that task. And then they create scaffolds of lessons where a student at any level has access to the full mastery of the standard. And that's what will move us, right? Is allowing every student to have that complete access to high quality education.
One of the major benefits at Bethesda is our diverse staff. So because our staff come from all over the globe, our children come from all over the globe. When we come to PLCs to do the work that Laurie has mentioned, the conversations and the ideas that come together and that are laid out in structured lesson planning or differentiated instruction, it's a little easier because you have the lens of someone who may be from Chile and the child is from Chile, or someone who may be from a low income environment, because I'm at the table as well. So when we think in terms of equity and making sure that each kid is getting what they need, we utilize the differentiation times in our schedule as well. But it starts with the conversation because everybody may learn differently. And we respect that as we continue this mission.
And just to echo some of the things that we're also doing is within our PLC, we're structuring it where we're really targeting and looking at what the children need. Thinking about that Bloom's taxonomy and really pulling out what is the action that the student has to be able to do, right? And kind of laying out that groundwork. And so every PLC we're going through and we're honing in on each and every subgroup. We're talking about what are our EL students doing and having those crucial conversations and teachers being able to talk about their strengths and their weaknesses. And then we provide those flex grouping for different subgroups. I guess beyond instruction, some of the other things that we're doing, even down to our schedule. When we looked at our data, we saw that our fifth graders were struggling because they were missing instruction because we had an attendance issue. So we had to kind of move some things in our schedule so that if in fact they did come to school late, don't worry, you're still in time for ELA. You're going to get this lesson. And so just kind of focusing on those different things to make sure that regardless of their background, regardless of where they are, that we're doing things in support of that. Some of the things I'm getting ready to move forward into this month is having targeted parent groups with my ESL families. A lot of them want to support, they want to be involved, and they just don't know how. And so I want to have some parent sessions just to figure out what do they need from me, also just so they can learn me, and then I can help them understand ways that they can plug into the school as well.
Those were excellent examples. I just appreciate this so much. It's really insightful to get a sense of what is happening in the school. And I hope everyone who's watching is writing about what's being said today, because it is a continuous improvement process, right? It's constantly looking at your data, looking at the information, all the multiple sources, and figuring out what to do next. And so I just was really appreciative to hear what you all shared. And the question of what does a student need to move towards justice? Is that how you phrased it? Like, that is like, whoo, I was like, yes, that's the work that we do here in Durham Public Schools. So thank y'all so much. I don't have any additional questions. Board members, y'all good? All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is Operation Services. We have the Classified Compensation Study Update. We have Dr. Lassane coming up to the podium.
Good evening, Chair Umstead, Superintendent Mabenga, members of the board. We return to you this week with an update on the Classified Compensation Study. We want to thank all of our employees who were patient through this process, and we certainly hope you are excited as you read the details of your letter. And so we had a follow-up meeting with Hill this week and to get some additional clarification on just a couple of employment categories and are actually the payroll window, I think, is still open a little bit, processing all of those changes for everyone to definitely see it in this paycheck. And we have a very, very small number of adjustments at this point. In the board materials, you will find the updated classified and administrator schedules. Our video has been recorded and is being edited for release by Public Affairs. And I want to extend thanks to not only Mr. Cunningham, but I also want to thank Ed Garcia, Marsha Klein, and Tanisha Austin, who are in the video helping share valuable information with our employees. It has taken a whole team to turn around approximately 2,200 payroll changes in this window. But I would like to extend special thanks to Sierra Ojiju, who literally joined us 4 months ago today, and to Vicky Goff. I hope they are at home sleep, not listening to this now, but they have done an outstanding job in working directly with HR to make sure. They've had a lot of tireless nights. And so I'm saying that to say, I hope that they're catching up on some much needed rest. We appreciate their leadership and their commitment. We also instituted a compensation study at dpsnc.net email address that has proven to be a good communication tool. Our employees are using that, and we have a number of people who are tapping into that email address to answer questions. While I have this forum, I would like to address 3 of the most common questions that we've received via that portal, just to help clarify for our employees. I want us to remember that this whole study represents a reclassification. And since we elected not to use a letter grade, there's a lot of confusion with their prior salary grade. It is indeed a reclassification. So we want to encourage everyone, look at your bottom line compensation. There's a reset on salary grades. I also want employees to remember that we will experience several months of adjustments before they will see a stabilized and predictable payment amount. So they will see the increases this month, but they will see the retroactive pay in November. So I want to remind them about that also. Review everything carefully. If you think adjustments need to be made, all of those inquiries need to be received by March the 15th. And finally, for administrators on the coordinator scales and above, please remember we did not adopt the Hill recommendations for those groups. And so what you see reflected on those pay scales are a straight across the board 7%. And so if there are questions regarding the scales or any other pieces of the compensation study, we're glad to answer those at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Osang, for providing that update. Board members, questions? We'll start with Ms. Byer.
Dr. Lassane, thank you so much. I would love to thank Sierra and Vicky, see if we can get them a spark pin. This is a tremendous amount of work and analysis. Folks that didn't get letters, what should they do? Should they email this email address that you gave out?
No, the letters are still some of what we had to meet with Hill with. We've made those adjustments and spreadsheets. And so those are forthcoming and they should be receiving them within the next 10 hours.
Okay, are those specific classifications that you'd like to say that is forthcoming, like the notion of certain job
They're
categories or?
specific classifications. If you look at hourly staff, and then there are also individuals with some adjustments that we had to make with steps. So you could have some one-offs in those areas, steps and salary grades.
Okay, so within 10 hours, they'll have it by tomorrow midday,
They should have it by tomorrow midday.
and then payday is.
Mhm.
Okay,
Payroll is the 31st, but it has to be sent to the bank and it's sent to the bank tomorrow.
okay. And most folks that everybody's been talking to seem happy. I've seen general happiness. Is that, yeah. but these folks that haven't received their letters are still looking for that
Yes.
letter and they're hitting refresh. So,
Yes.
okay, by 10 to, by
Yeah.
midday tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. We had to address particularly some hourly categories. And so that's probably the largest outstanding one. And I would like to also say that even in the compensation study at dpsnc.net email address, for every question we've had, we've also had a thank you. And so there are lots of emails of just employees saying thank you.
And then the scales, those are posted on the website somewhere. People have found them. Can you say again where they could?
They
find
are
their-
posted on the website. The easiest way for me to tell you is when you go to the DPS website, you can go a lot of different ways, but if in that search bar, you put compensation schedule, it will come right up and you can click and go directly to them there.
Yeah, that search bar is my favorite as well. It takes you to magical places. So I so much appreciate you reinforcing that for folks. And thank you to all the team members that worked so hard on this. Thank you to the state for finally passing a budget, but also for the county for making these raises possible. Thank you all.
Any other questions or comments? I got some. So don't move. Thank you all again for this update and for providing the scales. The scales on the website also have the positions at the bottom, which I also just think is helpful for new folks coming in, for any people who are trying to figure it out. The positions are listed down at the bottom of that salary schedule. So thank you for hearing our feedback on that. I also just wanted to know, I know we have millions of viewers watching our meeting tonight, but for some of those who might not be, how will they know? You asked about, you stated something about people getting, I wrote down my question, but I don't remember exactly what you said about folks getting their letters or how they communicate with you if they didn't receive their letter. How are we communicating with people who may not be watching the meeting around some of those notes?
And so I would like to say that our directors, supervisors, or whatever have been wonderful about fielding their staff also. And so I've been in contact with a number of supervisors of staff that have helped, particularly in areas where folks may not have as much access to email. But again, the email address is compensationstudy@dpsnc.net.
I think if we can get that maybe in flyers too, and I know that's a little bit of extra work y'all been doing so much, but I just really don't want anyone to feel like I don't know what and don't know where to go. So in some of those, with those supervisors, we can put some flyers up and different things to make sure everyone knows, here's the email address that you should get communication by midday tomorrow. And if you haven't received anything, here's where to go to find that information. Because again, I know lots of people are watching us, but some may not be. And so how do we make sure that we get that information to them?
And the video, which includes additional information, will also be posted on Monday
Okay.
with payday.
So will there be a communication on Monday of like, this is what it was. It was the communication around the paychecks. That's what it was, exactly. How the next couple paychecks might be a little different based on retroactive pay and all of that. How are we communicating that to our staff members? That's the question.
It is specifically, all of that is addressed in the letter. And then, so then it goes back to that same thing of working with supervisors in those areas to get hard copies to those that may not have as easy access to email.
Okay. I wonder if we, I lean on over communicating. So as those
Absolutely.
emails, as the videos go up, there's another email that goes out reminding people that these next couple paychecks will be different. I think as many times as we can say that, and also making sure our folks in Hamlin and Bacon Street, our transportation, all of them have that information. I just think it's going to be really helpful. We know the holidays are coming up too, so people are thinking about where my money is, how I can spend, what the gifts look like. That long a month, it seems like it gets extra longer towards the end of the year. So how do we over communicate what people can expect? I think will be helpful. And I think that's also just a lesson that we continue to learn with the different things that we're doing. So I think that just would be helpful, over communicating the differences that might come up.
And we do have those built in because there are several different things from open enrollment and all of that that is going out to staff.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to commend Dr. Lessen and Paul Lasura for working on this for over a year. And also, I want to say thank you to the Hill Group. They've been really loyal friends anytime we needed some work to be done. So thank you to our board. This has been a process for the last 3 years. Our classified employees, they've been asking for this, and thank you, you've been able to deliver. And also thank you to our county commissioners. And I would like also to say thank you to Michelle Burton, DAE president. We sat down together, we look at the priorities, and she knew this was the right time for this, then there's gonna be other time for other things. That was really a good partnership. I just want to highlight about $18.86 for our bus drivers. And I heard our neighbors, they were able to announce theirs, which was probably 18.50. So we see the highest when it comes to compensating our bus drivers. On top of that, when it comes to attendance, we're paying $150 for coming to work on time and coming to work for all those days. So I just really wanted to highlight that for our certified employees, we've been working with them throughout all these years. We have a new process with the budget that's going to start in December, and we heard them. We're expecting the states to pass something with a master's pay. They did not. That's something in our radar. So please do not leave us. Stick around. That's something that we are going to work, and I'm planning to bring this to our board for next year. So we are really excited where we are, and we're going to stay competitive. And anytime there are needs out there, we want to listen to our employees and make sure that we're bringing this to our board. Thank you, board, for your support.
Thank you, Dr. Mabenga. Thank you, Dr. Hussein. It makes me think about what is the cycle that we need to be doing classified studies on, so we don't get to a point where like, oh no, here it is again, it's time. 5 years, I hear Dr. Hussein saying, okay, so we need to make sure we're doing that to regularly make sure that we are paying our folks what they deserve, right? I think that's really important. Thanks again to our county commissioners for the local funding to make this possible as well. Any other comments, board members? All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, sorry, Ms. Valladares.
I also just want to thank your department for, just listening to the advocacy, listening to the needs of the DPS community. And there's so many faces, right, that have kind of come up and talked about, why this is so important. And I also know that in terms of how you're explaining like that, the steps are going to look a little different, but they're not a demotion in any way. It's just that we're trying to figure out how to calibrate our systems, like, so that we have exactly like the steps that we need. It's something so important because I know that some of our staff, in talking to them, when they come from other places, they sometimes compare. In Virginia, for example, that's an example that I know where somebody's a step, like way steps above, right? And then they're here and they're like, and when I got here, I've heard these testimonies, and it's heartbreaking, and they feel like my work is not being valued here because in Virginia I was this step. So I know that this is there's so many pieces to it. And I also just want to thank the folks, the advocates, Sunny Geraldo and instructional assistants, and so many people who stepped up and went to the county commission as well and met with folks. So there's so many names. I mean, we named a couple of them, and I know that there are so many people that you've been engaging with, and your department has done that also, including that meeting that you all did as well to kind of explain, what was happening. So just kudos. We're celebrating that we're doing this, and I think that we're all the better for how we treat our staff.
And we look forward to the impact this will have on our recruitment
Yes.
and our retention. So this is a great move for both recruitment and retention. So we thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you. Board members, the next item is closed session, so I'll take a motion.
Move that we go to closed session for the reasons stated on the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Byers, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously. We're now excuse me, it passes 6, 1 abstention. We, we are now in closed session. We are now back in open session. Dr. Mabenga.
Madam Chair, I'm here to seek your approval for the personnel report as discussed in the closed session.
I move approval of the personnel report dated October 26th, 2023.
Is moved by Ms. Byers, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously. And with that, we are adjourned. Good evening, everyone.